Hi everyone, and welcome to another Baxter Student Ambassador Program webinar. Presenting for us this time is Vivienne Maxwell, one of our BSAP finalists from Fleming College. Hi Vivienne, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing well. How is everyone today?
We're doing well, thanks.
Good.
So welcome to the session, and just before we get started, I'd like to quickly introduce some of the people attending today's webinar. Carol Greenwood from the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario will be viewing the webinar, and several representatives from Elmhirst Resort are attending as well.
Oh,
here at Baxter Media, we have Wendy McClung, Ashley Rochefort, Ian Stalker, and I'm Dan McDonald. Now, for everyone viewing today's webinar, if you have any questions during the presentation, just type them into the Q&A box, and those questions will be answered after the presentation is finished. Okay, Vivienne, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen, you can start whenever you're ready.
Perfect. I will do that now. All right. Wonderful. Let me get that out of the way for you so you can see. And I'm just going to bring this to the full screen here.
Just so you know, the audio is coming through a little bit on the quiet side.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for letting me know. I'll just speak a little closer in here. Okay.
No worries.
Sorry, I'm trying to actually get that out of there. Okay. All right, so officially welcome everyone. And again, I know you already did this, Dan, but thank you so much for taking the time to be here to listen to my presentation today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Vivienne Maxwell, as Dan said. I'm a fourth semester tourism and global travel student, and I graduate from Fleming College in Peterborough this April. So I'm very excited to be here, and there's a lot to cover. Elmhirst is a very, very interesting resort and covers a lot of different things as far as accommodation goes. So let's dive right into it. So obviously the topic I was given was Elmhirst Resort in Keene, Ontario. Before I begin, I'm just going to go through a brief format of my presentation today, just to give you a little layout so you're not thrown off guard. But first I'm going to go through a brief history, tell you, of course, where to find Elmhirst if you're ever thinking of going. The layout of the resort, so I'm going to show you a map just so that as I talk about the locations throughout the presentation, you kind of have a general idea where those are found. Of course, we're going to go over all of the accommodations. We are going to talk about the 2 dining facilities that they have on their resort, as well as the many other dining options that come with those. We're definitely going to touch on sustainability, as I know it's something that they definitely take pride in, and me just being interested in sustainability efforts, I was very impressed by what they had, or the things that they had been doing. We're going to look at the spa, and lastly, we're going to look at the conference center, which is kind of extended into weddings, which is very interesting. So, and then lastly, of course, we're going to have questions. Please feel free to formulate questions during the presentation. I would love to, of course, answer them. I would ask that you leave them till the end, but I mean, if it is something urgent, please feel free to type it in the box, and I'll be keeping an eye on that and kind of addressing those as we go. I should also add too, I did ask Dan, you know, should we be catering this presentation to something or a specific type of traveler? And he said either a domestic or an international traveler. So I decided to look at domestic travel when delving into the Elmhirst Resort. So let's first just have a look at the history here. All right, so of course, Elmhirst Resort, if you do not know, is a cottage resort and conference facility. It has dining facilities, 2 restaurants on site, as well as a spa. All of these are offered year-round, which is great. It is an array of 30 cottages, I should mention, spread along 1 mile shoreline on 240 acres of the north shore of Rice Lake. So the conference facilities has, of course, extended to weddings, as I mentioned, which is great. And I just want to touch a little bit on warmth, commitment, and tradition. This is just because these kind of words I saw painted all over the company's website. And when I think of these three words together, in turn, I think of family. So I think that's really important, as the resort is family owned and operated since 1903. When the grandfather, as far as I'm concerned, purchased the property mainly for farming purposes at the time. But there were a few cabins, however, that he would rent out to fishermen, American fishermen that were drawn to the area because of Rice Lake and the fishing opportunities. So that accommodation part was kind of always there, which is interesting, but it slowly became the main interest and the main source of income as the family passed it down through the generations. So it was actually, I shouldn't say passed down, it was purchased by the father, Peter, who has continued now to pass down the generations to his sons. And so it's a really family-oriented business, and all of the family has a part in operating some of the services here at Elmhirst. So it makes it kind of unique in that way as well. So all of the activities that you'll find at the resort are available in all 4 seasons, which is also incredible, as of course, being Canadian, we really do get to experience a lot of different weather types and just a lot of different things here in Canada. So it's cool that you get to experience all of those things. And it doesn't matter what type of year you would be able to travel, there would be something for you there. And then again, they do have farm to table practices as well. Sorry, I'm a little caught up here. But it also, the resort, again, it offers a number of activities, just to name a few of those though. Hiking, trail rides on horseback, going flying for a sightseeing adventure. You can wine taste. There's actually a wine cellar on the property. You could relax at the spa, enjoy some fishing, of course, rent a boat. You can bring your own boat, which can be put on the dock. But just countless activities is the idea here. All right. So first of all, just to give you an idea of the location. So I'm from the GTA. So just to put it into perspective, it's about 90 minutes east of Toronto, about 20 minutes southeast of Peterborough, if you're from the Kawartha area. So located on the north shore of Rice Lake. And then if you're interested, of course, the actual address is 1045 Settlers Lane in Keene, Ontario. All right. So again, I just want to mention too, all of those activities and kind of sustainability that we were mentioning before, I'm going to go into larger detail about that. All right. But just looking at the resort map here, especially a few of you being from the resort, of course you would know this, but I just want to touch on as I'm going through the resorts for the people who don't know. So obviously these are the cottages along the water here, the 30 cottages. This is Rice Lake, obviously. This is where the water activities would be widely held. In the winter time, there's actually a skating rink along the ice here, which is very, very cool. Getting into those winter activities. But over here in the main building is where the receptions would happen. The 2 dining areas are, which are again, fine dining and a pub. The indoor pool, the spa, the fitness center, and where conferences and facilities would be held. Okay, so that main building there. Then we have the conservatory room. This is where the boardroom is, as well as the conference facilities, games room, and laundry facilities, which are coin operated. But so a lot of our conference meetings and things like that would happen in this room. Again, we have the waterfront area. So down here, sorry if you can follow my mouse. So this is where a lot of sports happen. There's actually a beach and some sand. So we have volleyball happening there and tons of other activities. To socialize. We have a firewood sheds along here as well, which of course are available for purchase on site. Central activity areas would be the campfire area, the riding stables. So these would be the activities you could do on your own. Lookouts, and getting into winter activities here, we have the toboggan hill. And then again, close to the main dining, we have the wine cellar there, which is a big hit. We have the flying happening over here, as well as the kind of water boats over here. And this is kind of the launch, I believe, for the boat. But just so to put in perspective again, where everything is, we have nature trails kind of along the water as well, which is very interesting. But yes, a lot of interesting places along, and points of interest, I should say, along the resort. All right. So getting into accommodations. So before we get into the accommodations kind of specifically, we're just going to look at them, what they all offer across the board, depending what type of cottage you have. So they will all be fully stocked. They will all be have a full kitchen with a full-size fridge. Also having a dishwasher, coffee machine, microwave, propane barbecue, which is great. I should mention, along with all of that, there is the farm-to-table option where you can actually get ingredients delivered to your house or to your cottage that you're staying at, that are actually grown and sourced from the property. So that they have cows, so it could be anything from getting your own steak, could be vegetables, but there are actually grocery lists within the cottages that you can choose from. So it has a list of things that you can order, and you can just let them know, and they will arrive with that at your door. So it's very interesting. Way of sustainable practices, I think. So the propane barbecue, of course, that comes in handy. If you do grab one of those steaks, you can cook it yourself. Propane, I believe, can be purchased on property as well. There's a lakefront deck in every cottage, as well as a private dock. So there can be, of course, boat rentals, but you can also have your own boat at your dock. Linens and toiletries are included. So everything from towels, toilet paper, shampoo, soap, things like that. But they do recommend that you bring your own towels. And every cottage has a LCD TV with cable and DVD players, and unlimited Wi-Fi can be found in all of the cottages, but as well in the main areas of the facility as well. That one main building, I should say. Okay, so specifically, we're going to chat about the one-bedroom deluxe cottage. So this is basically known as the honeymoon suite. It's a very romantic cottage. There is only one, so I would recommend, if you were trying to book this, to book it in advance. I could imagine it would be popular, especially around this time of year, Valentine's Day. So there's a king-size bed in the room. Again, perfect for couples. There's a large washroom with a jacuzzi and tub and shower. There's a view of the fireplace from the bedroom, which is beautiful. And there's also an open concept living room, which is great. The prices do vary between each cottage, but they are generally the same for the deluxe room. So this being a deluxe room, I should mention I have used weekend rates above here. So for the weekend, it would be about $520 per person. Of course, this is rated in Canadian dollars as well. HST is not included, so that would be an extra price on that. But this is a weekly price underneath. There are mid and weekday prices as well. So if anyone would like to know those for any type of cottage, definitely ask me at the end and we can go over those. But so yeah, you're looking at, for a couple, about $520 per night and $1,400 per week. Moving on to the 2-bedroom Superior Cottage, which is located next to the boathouse. So it's very close to the outdoor activities, the pool, the water ski dock. So if you're more active kind of traveler, that'd definitely be an option for you. Short walk from the main building, so very central location, which is great. 1 floor open concept. So there is a full bathroom with a whirlpool tub, not the jacuzzi, and a shower as well. And there's also a living room too. All right, so again, the prices there, this is the weekend rate. So that's for the 2 days. for the weekend. The $405 for 2 people. This would be $90 per extra people, and about $1,120 for the week. I should mention, we will get into policies a little bit later, but I should mention that they do have the right to limit the number of people per stay. So I would assume that really they are probably lenient within, I mean, if it's, you know, a child who wants to sleep with their parent in the bed, things like that, that can be worked around. But if it's, you know, 10 rowdy kids and there's only 3 beds, then I mean, it's a bit much. So just make sure you're remembering how many people you're bringing there. So 3-bedroom Superior Cottage. It was on the website that these are always in demand, so I would definitely recommend booking these in advance, far in advance as well. But they are charming and compact. They're 1-level open concept with kitchen and living room. So they have a full washroom, again with the whirlpool tub and the shower. And there are different options, I believe, for the beds. So I was just trying to infer those there. But the prices here, again, would be $405 for the weekend, $90 per person, for extra person, sorry, I should say, and $1,120 for the 2 weekly. All right. And getting into the 4-bedroom Deluxe Cottage. So this is a very spacious and comfortable option. It's perfect for family get-togethers and larger groups. So there are 2 available. So again, a little bit limited, and definitely book in advance if you are looking for this as a trip. It is 2 stories with 2 bedrooms on each story. It has a living room and the kitchen, and they're both actually on the waterfront side. So they offer quite beautiful views. I tried to show that in the photo there. So going back to the deluxe prices, it would be $520 for 2 people for a weekend, and $95 for extra people, and $1,400 for the week, and then getting into $195 for the extra person for the weekly cost. Then we have the 5-bedroom Deluxe Cottage. So this is very close to the main building, which also makes it a very great location for groups, but obviously its size as well, being so large and spacious. It is very close to a lot of the facilities, and the bedrooms within it, the 5, so there are 3 bedrooms with king beds and 2 bedrooms with twin beds. And then there are 2 large bedrooms on the 1 floor. So getting back into $520 for 2 people for the weekend, $95 for extra persons, and $1,400 for the week for 2, and $195 for the extra people. All right, so getting into the booking and cancellations here. So all of the rates, again, they are in Canadian dollars, and they do not include HST, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, so anyway, so there is a 2-night minimum stay if you are staying there. The 2-night stay does require a $300 deposit, whereas a week stay requires a $400 deposit. 90% refund if you do happen to cancel your vacation or trip 30 days prior to arrival. Of course, within that 30 days, there will be no refund. There is no charge for children under 3, and actually children from 3 to 12 get 50% off rates, as well as kids actually get to stay free in the month of March, which is fantastic. That's incredible. That would be such a great incentive to go. Reserve the right, again, so yes, they reserve the right to limit the number of occupants staying in each cottage. So definitely keep that in mind. Make sure we're having enough beds, you know, for each person and things like that. So for 60 plus people, there are 20% reductions on rates. And it should be kept in mind, the restaurants can be used for outside purposes. You don't need to be a guest to use them. They actually encourage that, booking with the restaurants, but the facilities mainly are used for registered guests. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So getting into the dining, the Hearthside dining room is their fine dining option. So again, that is found in the main building. So actually, again, getting back into their farm to table practices as well. They do raise their own chickens, cows, ducks, and turkeys on site. So, I mean, that's another great incentive to dine within the restaurants. I mean, that just sounds incredible, having something, raised so close, and knowing exactly, what they were fed and things like that is just an incredible thing to do and a great practice to have. They obviously grow their own vegetables and herbs as well. They have gardens throughout the grounds, as well as even flower gardens around the docks as well, which are very beautiful. Yes, and then anything that is not, made locally or on site is definitely sourced locally. So that's great that they keep that in mind. The dining in the Hearthside dining room is definitely fine dining. Great options, smaller plates, but great, delicious palettes, and even has the option to do a wine and dine. So you can actually go down to the wine cellar in a prepaid package and experience 5 wines paired with a five-course dinner, which is very interesting too for those sensory travelers out there. So again, this is open to the public. They do have certain kind of events that go on. So for example, Sunday brunch is recommended for outside travelers to try. It is a meal that has roast beef and vegetables, antipastos, cold and hot pastas, tons of different stuff for Sunday brunch. So it's a very big hit. But they also have, events, holiday dinners, Valentine's Day dinners, Thanksgiving dinner. So those, again, are different prices per person. But yeah, they hold different events like that, and they do serve meals for their guests at different times throughout the day. So there is a breakfast time, a lunch time, and a dinner time. And then we're moving on to the other option, the dining option, the Wild Blue Yonder Pub and Patio. So this is, of course, more casual pub atmosphere, if that's what you're interested in. I know I am. It offers beers on tap and a lot of, again, local beers, getting that local sourcing, which is fantastic. So if you're familiar with them, they mentioned they have the Church Key and the Publican. They offer, again, kind of events. They offer roast beef buffets and certain things that are open to the public that they are definitely recommend that you try. And they do have entertainment as well. It's a little more upbeat than the fine dining. All right, then we're getting into the sustainability practices. So I wanted to highlight a few of the ones that I kind of felt dear to me anyways. So the spa, it actually uses all vegan products. There's no chemicals or anything in their products, which I find fantastic. It's, you want to promote wellness and health and wellness within a spa. So I just find that great that you're actually looking at the products that you're using and where you're getting those. They have non-invasive docking systems. So, I mean, they're definitely making sure that ecosystems are not destroyed when putting in docking systems and things like that. No fertilizers or herbicides are used. Seaweed is actually used for fertilizers as well, for certain things, as well as, I mean, there is manure and things like that used for fertilizing as well, which we'll get to. But over 1,000 trees have been planted just for different reasons, having, needing shade in certain areas. So they're definitely contributing to the tree planting in that sense, which is great. They collect their own seeds, which they then go and germinate these seeds. So, I mean, they're not going out and buying things. Not that that's wrong, but it's just a completely self-sufficient process, which is very, very good. Horse and cow manure is again, so we were mentioning that is composted and then used on the land for the growth and of the plants. And there's a strict recycling program, which I enjoy, and there's emphasis on environmentally friendly sports. So just to name a few of those, that was the volleyball, the kite, skiing or boarding, which was very interesting. But yeah, so just, staying away from the motor sports, and not only promoting those is a very, very big part of that sustainability as well. And moving into the spa, so I don't know if everyone's familiar, but they do use the Arbonne products, which I'm familiar with. So they're Swiss products, very pure, and they just have a really great reputation of being safe. And the standards in Switzerland are just a lot different than the standards here. So they're a lot more of a pure product to use. So all of the products that they use are Arbonne. So again, all of those are chemically free of parabens, which is fantastic. Again, if you're wanting to promote health, these are the things that you want. I apologize. I did mean to have more to touch on here, but I do kind of have a few more things just from my memory to say. So they offer tons of different types of massages from what I can remember. Acupuncture, they offer hot stone massages, aromatherapy massages, and Reiki, if you're familiar with that. So a form of touch healing is what that would be. But they also offer hand and foot treatments, and a variety of them, facials, as well as waxing services too. And getting into the conferences that they offer. So, I mean, again, such a wide variety of opportunity and reasons why people would come to this facility or resort, but conferences mainly. So just to give you an idea of what types of conferences could be held, they have many different meeting rooms that are available for a wide array of different numbers of people. So the conservatory room, which we actually, we went over the conservatory building before, so that would be in there. It holds about 80 people. And then, if it's a more smaller, intimate group, there is the boardroom for business meetings. And then on the opposite scale of that, for larger groups, banquets, receptions, and I would imagine that a lot of the weddings would probably happen in there. There is the enterprise room. And then the heritage room for about 100 people. So, I mean, if you're thinking of a luncheon or something where, you need space, but it's not an extremely large group where you need a reception. And again, so that you need to contact Pamela Henderson in sales if you would like to book those. The weddings are held in again, mostly the enterprise room, but are held widely across the property as well. It's 240 acres and tons of beautiful sites throughout that. Okay, so now I would, oh, you know what? Before I get into questions, I should answer any, just in case these are your questions, anything I've kind of missed here, because I have realized I've missed a few things. But I just wanted to mention that the cottages are pet friendly, and this does depend, not all of them. So when booking, make sure you do check to see with the front desk, which ones are pet friendly, but it is $25 per pet per stay if you are staying up to 4 consecutive days. If you're staying more than 4 consecutive days, so 5+, it would be $50 per night per pet. And each cottage can only have 2 pets at a time. So definitely something to keep in mind. Most of the cottages can accommodate those though. All right, and I think that was mostly everything I forgot. So now we can start to get into the questions, if anyone has any.
Thank you so much, Vivienne.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. I'm thinking, is everyone still there?
Yeah, definitely. So if anybody does submit questions to either the Q&A box or the chat box through text, I can read them out to you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, and also, I mean, I can read that out loud too, if you'd like.
Oh, great. If you can see the one in the chat box there,
Yeah.
Joan just asked if it was difficult to find information to put this presentation together.
Yes, exactly. Okay, you know what? I found the information on the website very simply put. I found everything to be categorized very organizingly. Like it was very easy to find. There were a few things. For example, the firewood, which this is my, and I apologize. I did kind of hope to call and just get, any information that I couldn't find on the website on there. So, I mean, just certain things like the firewood, just prices for those. But I mean, that would just be, that wouldn't be an important deciding factor in if you were going there or not. But also, so for example, the pet policies, like just maybe knowing which cottages do offer the pet things there. But you know what, just little details that, I mean, all of the big details were very easy to find, and I found the website so informational and so informative. So another question here. So upon looking at this property, oh my goodness, did it make you want to visit? Yes. It's funny. I've been telling everybody since I've been researching it the last week, I'm saying, you got to go there. And it's a big reason why I chose the domestic traveler over the international traveler. I mean, there's so many reasons why you would want to travel to tons of places all over the world. But for me, I mean, I always think, I need to see my own backyard first. So yeah, I mean, I had no idea that, first of all, that I was so close to a resort like that. The sustainability practices were one of the main reasons what interest me and make me want to go there. Like I find that so incredible that when businesses really care to make a difference and do better and continue to improve and not just stay the same. So, and I'm very big on fresh, local food. So, I mean, the dining facilities as well just completely took my interest, as well as all the activities. It was absolutely incredible. And the fact that you can go any season of the year is just absolutely breathtaking. And yeah, I definitely should go. I think after what I'm saying.
Great. Thanks so much, Vivienne. And another question submitted from Dennis Smith was, did you consider any competitive advantages of this resort over others in its proximity?
Oh, that's a very good question. To be completely honest, I was definitely comparing it to, resorts that I have been to or worked at. But no, you know what? I think that's something that I did. It was kind of limited. I definitely should have put a little more research into, comparison. That's a good point. I did not do that very much.
Thanks. And Wendy here at Baxter has a question.
Great.
Hi, Vivienne. It's Wendy. I want to know if any of the products or services, the cottages, whatever, are commissionable to travel agents.
Oh, that's a very good question. You know what, Wendy? If you also leave me your contact information, because I did see information about that. I just can't remember, and I do not want to lead any misinformation.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay, Vivienne. I know the answer to it. I was just seeing if you knew it.
Okay, yes. Okay, no problem. But I appreciate the question anyway.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any more questions from anyone? I don't know if I'm cutting out right now. I can't hear anyone.
No, you're still on the line.
Okay.
Yeah. And Vivienne, do you happen to know what the average length of stay is?
I would have to look into that as well. I know it's definitely more than 2 days because there's a minimum 2-day stay. You know what, again, I can't lead any misinformation. I would most definitely assume that it would be at least a week. It just looks incredible. But again, that is not actual, sourced information from the website or the company. Yes.
No worries. Thanks, Vivienne.
Thank you.
Okay, and I do believe that's it for the questions. But I'd like to thank everyone that tuned into the webinar today. And Vivienne, thanks again so much for participating in the 2018 Baxter Student Ambassador Program.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yes, thank you everyone who tuned in to listen to me. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.